Hi, this is Kim with www.embody-light.com. And please hit the like and subscribe button if you have not done so. And so today's video is I'm going to talk about the human energy field or the chakra system in a way that may be different or new to some of you. It was new to me when I finally figured it out. But so I'm just going to start off by just explaining it a little bit. The chakra system, it's our human energy field, and the chakras, as described, are like vortexes that take in energy from the universal source, metabolize, bring that energy into our bodies, and metabolize it. So our heart is our gateway. To the degree that your heart is open, we're able to have spiritual insights and that come in from upper dimensional beings, source, guidance, that kind of thing, Christ consciousness. And our chakras always work together to the number 8. So our crown works with our physical level, our third eye works with our emotional body. I've covered that all in other videos. So we've always been told that, and one of the things I've been told or have learned about the chakra system is that each level works together. And in order for this level to be open, you need to be like this, and that, and these steps need to be taken. And then as that level opens, the energy can rise to the next level. If the appropriate steps are taken in the next level, you can rise to the next level. Well, that kind of, in a way, sounds like a really hard thing to do and keep track of, and it is. Because what I learned, the reality of the chakra system is that it was actually designed to dumb us down, to put in doorways or gateways to make it more difficult to connect to source, because initially humanity was a much different version of what we are now. I've heard, and I believe it's true, we are human 7.0 now. Our genetics have been manipulated and downgraded 7 different times to get us to the state where we are at, maybe even more than that. But if you think about it for a minute, think back to and I always just thought, oh, it's just folklore. Like you'd hear old stories of people, even in the Bible, living to 300 years old or more, and that they would have, we look at ancient ruins and wonder, well, how in the world could they have built that? They didn't have the technology for that. We think that back then they were a much less advanced civilization. Well, the reality of it was back then, the initial version of humans were much more conscious than we are. We have downgraded from that time. I think a lot of it had to do with the fall of Atlantis, but I'm not sure. So, one of the things that I found odd, and I could never understand why, but now it makes sense, was a lot of people that I'd work with and just talk with in general, when they would meditate, they would see all these different colors. I mean, your upper colors from your upper chakras are going to be purple, indigo, light blue, and then green at the heart. You can have gold and silver and white from layers above us. And then below the heart is the yellow, the orange, the red. I never saw any yellow, orange, or red in my entire life meditating or working with other people. I've only seen green twice. That would indicate their heart's very open. What I always see is the blues or the purples. When I am meditating, I can see sometimes purple, but typically what I see is white. I might see the image of a person, but it's white, it's illuminated. Another thing I would see, it looked like, mini blinds, the kind that go across, the horizontal blinds, I believe they're called, where you have them part open, and so parts dark, parts light. I would see that in my mind's eye, and I'm thinking, why am I seeing this thing that looks like a mini blind? Well, what I was actually seeing was the different layers and the space between. I never understood. And so, therefore, I thought because I wasn't having the same experience as other people, that there was something wrong with me. When in reality, that wasn't what it was. It's because back in the beginning and what we will be moving into, we were more of a unity consciousness. And to the point where one of the things I've had difficulty in my life is I don't even realize that other people may be different or think differently than I do till somebody tells me. Um, so I was never able to see into those lower levels because of the experiences I had as a child and an infant. I wasn't as cut off. Now, I was terrified of the physical world and not very grounded, but I could still connect with Source and the upper levels. But because I was so terrified of the physical realm, I never let myself see it. That was what was going on. So, what they did somehow, I don't know how, I think it was done through viruses and different ways of genetic manipulation. They inserted, I'm just going to call it inserted, I don't know how they actually did it. What they referred to was 7 seals into the human condition. And what the way I found out about this, I want to back up a little bit, was way back when I just started on my healing and spiritual journey. There used to be a place, and maybe it's still there on the internet, called Spirit Library. Well, it would have different people that would write different things about spirituality, different channels. Um, and one of the people that I used to read their material, I think you could listen to it or read it, was called the Crimson Circle. And they gave a talk about these 7 seals. And I didn't really have that much of a concept of what it actually was. But at the time, I had already trained in hypnotherapy, been working with the singing bowls, and I thought this would be a great meditation to integrate with my singing bowls. Opening of these 7 seals, because that's what they were basically telling you how to do in this meditation. So I wrote them an email and asked their permission to use it. I told them I would give full credit to them, and I told them what I was doing. And then, when you do that kind of stuff, then it refers people back to their site. So they were more than happy to allow me to do that. So I did it, and it was quite interesting. But so what I want to talk about is the before any of us ever came into physicality, we were Source. We all were a piece of Source. And then Source, I guess you could say, exploded, became millions, billions, trillions of fractals, individualizations, and that's what we are. So many of us still hold on to this basic longing that we've been sent away because of this initial separation from Source. And so, because of this initial separation from Source, it was easier for humanity to accept this other stuff because they remember this first split. But now, what the way it was presented was, and I'm going to read exactly what they said because I printed it out. Within mankind were 7 conditions of consciousness sealed into the human angels walking upon the face of the earth. It was agreed that one day these seals would be open if the earth survived and if humanity crossed certain bridges or opened certain doorways. That's how it was presented. Okay. And this is how, so to me, the way I feel about it, this is being presented to us like this is a good thing. We did this for your own good. But my wondering is, really? Or was it just a tinkering with our genetics to dumb us down? So the first seal, the first layer where this blocking, the first seal, first layer where it hit us, has been separation. Separation, or the illusion that you are separate from spirit. And because we had already gone through, it's called the wall of fire when we separated from source, this was easily believable, but this was an illusion. If you want to look at it this way, it had to be there so we could go off on our journey and discover who we really were. So the first seal, we were cut off from knowing who we really were. The second seal had to do with discovering who we were. So this seal is the seal of awareness of self as an individual. So once we got this awareness, because we used to come from a unity consciousness. So once we got this idea that we were separate and individual, it started to create self-doubt. This self-doubt then led to self-discovery for those who could do it, because not everybody could do it. Then the third seal was the seal of duality, where we were tricked into believing that there was a power outside of source, and that is not true. There's duality and there's energy. It's up to us how we mold that energy. If we mold it in a way that's benevolent, we are aligned with the energy of source. If we mold it in a way that is malevolent, we take ourselves away from source. So the third seal is the energy of duality. And what this seal does is it causes a belief that creates further division, because then humans believe that there is something within them that is so bad and so evil that they are cut off from source. And so it creates a division, a pulling away. The fourth seal that was sealed into our human experience was sin and guilt. So I want to talk about what is the original meaning of sin. If you look back into I know I'll say the word wrong, but the language that Christ spoke when he was on the earth, it's something like Aramaic, but I don't think that's it. The original meaning of sin was never a term that was something we were going to shame people with or kick them out of heaven, or that was our religious leaders who did that. The original meaning of the word sin means a misunderstanding, a missing of the mark. Because if you truly understood this, you would not miss the mark and you would be on the side of the light. But if you miss the mark and don't understand, that would be called a sin, an error in your judgment. That's what it is. So humanity has carried this sin and guilt within them for so long. And so unnecessarily, put it that way. If people truly understood this and could align themselves within the source end of this, they would not misunderstand and they would not do things that would lead them away from source. That's basically what that was. It was kind of twisted to make us feel like we were born guilty and sinful. That's how it was twisted. And that this was something you had to fight and work on your whole life. No, not really. If you were just placed in the right alignment to begin with, there would be nothing to fight against or work against. I hope I'm explaining this well enough. So then we would go to the fifth level. Now, this level, because I have all this written down, that's why I'm looking at my notes here. The fifth level is suffering. Behind the fifth seal, through our erroneous belief system based either on love or fear, humanity has taken on the belief. One second, I gotta pause. Humanity has taken on the belief that the way to atone for the things they judged that they did wrong or whatever, didn't understand, was through suffering. Suffering financially, suffering in relationships, suffering physically. There was actually the belief that if you suffered, you were suffering for the Lord or whatever, or that it was a good thing that you were suffering. It was the way to atone for what you perceived as your wrongdoing. That is completely false. Joy and fulfillment are the way of spirit, not suffering or sacrifice, ever. Now, the sixth level of our human energy field, or the sixth seal that they put into our human energy field, was the illusion that salvation would come through another. You know, the Christians believe it will be through through Jesus. I don't know what the reason I said Jewish, I was getting ahead of myself. I'm not sure exactly what the Jewish faith believes, but the Jewish faith actually believes that their Savior is still coming. Well, all of this is illusionary. Jesus was, you could call him a savior, if that's the religion and the ideology you have. And he came into this world to show us how to save ourselves, not how to rely on him to. He's not going to come back out of the sky and save us. He gave us the tools we needed to save ourselves. That's basically what that is. Salvation is through self, it is not through another. Many leaders have shown us how to do this. The one I am most familiar with and I resonate with the most strongly is Christ. Now, the seventh seal that was sealed into our belief systems was the potential of the I am awareness. Now, the I am awareness is where you know that you are a part of Source, and you align with that part. And the illusionary, what we were told the seal was that we could never be a part of that we are not worthy, that we are less than. Well, that is not true. The seventh seal is the I am, not the less than I am. So the seventh seal was put in to prevent us from knowing how connected we were to Source, so that we would feel less than. When that's not true, we do not need to feel less than. No human being on this planet is less than any other human being on this planet. I don't care under what circumstances. And Source does not see you as less than. Source may see you as not understanding and making mistakes, but Source does not see you as less than. So these were the seals that were sealed into humanity. And a lot of the man-made teachings that were put through in religions tended to support these views. And so they strengthened them, and a lot of people aligned and worked with them. Because the reality of what happened was, back in those times, was that the government officials, the people who appointed themselves as authority or whatever, didn't really hold power over the people. The people were not really afraid of them, and so they weren't collecting their money, whatever the situation was. So then they integrated their beliefs into religion because they realized that although we can't force people into compliance, we can scare them into compliance by having their eternal salvation threatened. So that is basically how it started, and all of our energy systems were downgraded, like I said, so there were doors and seals in between each level, which made it difficult to go on our human journey. But the reality is, so all this is separate. The temporary reality on earth is separation. The eternal reality is oneness. And I've always known that at some point we would move into the unified chakra and no longer have this separation of all these different chakras. I don't know when that's actually going to occur. I still work with the different layers, um, because because that's just the way our lives have arranged into those layers. This layer has to do with your communication and speaking your truth or whatever. So if that's the case, I'm going to be working with things that I know are common with the throat chakra. I'm going to be using the tones, which would be a G, that would enhance the dissolving of those blocks or those energies. So I still work within them, but it's not exactly what we were told it was. It was a downgrading of our energy. It's not that we were meant to start out low and find our way up, although that's what has happened and that's how we heal with the current state we're in. But I don't think it was ever intended to do that. I believe the chakra system was put in as a way to deflect from who we really were and to cause confusion in doorways. To me it looks like a big maze. You got to run through this way before you can get this way and before you can get this way. It just made everything more difficult. So I hope that makes sense. I love you all and have a blessed day. Bye-bye.